Sorry for keeping you waiting. I officially welcome you to the ISN Quality Assurance Summit 2022. I'll first start by introducing myself. But there's a particular way I like to introduce myself by my height. And somebody can guess. Because I'm tall, my name should be what? Fantastic. Okay, so my name is Omitola Olajide. I'm the Customer Service Manager of ISN Medical. You're going to be seeing my face almost throughout today. We are going to be together like what? Give me two things in the medical settings that cannot do without each other. Like calibrator and control, right? Like QA and QC. Give me something as somebody else. Yes, so I'll be the pipette, you be the tips. Okay, so coming online, I'm sorry for keeping you waiting. Foremost, that security protocol, they're supposed to give us, but I'm just trying to cite them. I cannot see them around. Maybe we'll skip that for now. We'll just go to the welcome. So the welcome will be taken by our own personal chairman, ISN Products Nigeria Limited, Mr. Ben Ofongu. Please, a round of applause as he comes up to the stage.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I started. Very much, everyone. I must say that when I was told the number of have shown interest in this, I was quite pleased that a growing interest in quality assurance in laboratory medicine, in lab work.
Yeah.
So I agreed that
to skip it.
I'll be here today just out of interest because I'm really very keen what's happening. I'm glad at the number of will be. It shows that this interest that ISN products is sparing is catching on. There will be people who like to think at every minute is doing their work when they're doing their work. That's exactly what we are hoping for. So in emphasizing having programs will be the team and everybody will be geared up towards thinking about of the issue of quality assurance in laboratories. The fact that results from different laboratories on the same specimen can have so much divergent results shows that there is still work to be done. Their specimens to one or two labs and have an idea. We want to work in a situation where are rated as foolproof. That's exactly what we've tried to do. That's what we'll be doing. And I'm sure that this continued awareness in quality control is what we are hoping to address all the time here. I must commend the ISN people for taking the trouble all the time to organize this. And we hope they will appreciate it. Know that there are more accrediting labs and making them feel certain standards are expected of you. You must uphold. We've even taken the trouble of the Director General of the National Accreditation Committee to this our summit to tell us all about accreditation, which is what we are all hoping to achieve in this summit. And also that we have a representative registrar of and the victory is having coming from Nigeria. I'm sure everybody here wants to spearhead this. ISN spearhead this. Let it be our corporate social responsibility that we are trying to really help labs in Nigeria, international lab anywhere in the world. And the program of educating our will continue. More step, we will get there. We will have that victory. I thank you all for listening and for coming today, and I hope we'll have an enjoyable time. I hope Genius. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. A round of applause. Okay, to continue, I just found security protocol. We'll just complete the welcome address, and I'm going to be inviting on stage. So I'm going to be inviting on stage our own personal Chief Financial Officer, Mrs. Chinyere Kolo. Please try as she walks up.
All right, good morning, everyone. Our chairman has already introduced the program. I'll just take us through, what we're trying to achieve by this. The Director General System, NINAS, the Registrar, who is by the Deputy Registrar, the Medical Science Council of Nigeria, ISN, Lagos Chapter Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists of Nigeria, MLSN, dignitaries from medical facilities across the country, our esteemed customers and viewers online. It's my profound honor to on behalf of the management of ISN Medical to this summit, of course. Quality is an intrinsic staff we hire, and every aspect of our business is aimed at being the best in class for one, and that reason is because we believe the patient is at the receiving end of our value chain. We do all we can, right, to make sure that our patients get best quality care. And we do this in many ways through our vibrant customer base of medical institutions who are represented and online. It's on this premise that the Quality Assurance Summit, the ISN Quality, was instituted to promote quality laboratory practice by creating a forum for national discourse about quality in the medical program. This year's program is the 6th edition, and it's ISO 9. ISO 151 required standard for quality and competent medical laboratory. Recognize the proficiency of medical laboratories by the laboratories that they serve, as well as by regulatory and accreditation agencies. It's viewed globally as a mark of quality in medical lab practice. ISO 15189 is rapidly emerging as a true global standard for medical laboratories. However, it causes a its purpose and requirements. The application of this standard also for many laboratories, and that's why we're here. Therefore, demystifying ISO 15189 is the focus of this year's ICAS, which is the ISN Quality Assurance. Please sit back and interact with distinguished speakers and panelists. Take us through the journey of demystifying this. I'd like to appreciate our partners, the Nigerian National Accreditation System, (NINAS), the Medical Laboratory of Nigeria, MLSCN, the Association of Medical Laboratory Sciences of Nigeria, AM, who is present. Thank you all for your support and have a nice time at the program.
Keynote speaker come on board. Please just give us about 2 minutes, 3 minutes, so we can put the questions live and send the link so everyone can fill the evaluation before the keynote speaker. So while we do that, just spare us 2 minutes. Thank you. Okay, we'll send it to them. Okay, via SMS. Okay, then the... What? What's she planning? She wants to change the system. To the guy, Abby.
She's okay.
contest on our YouTube chat box. We are trying to send it as a text message to all of you. We also wait. The next thing on the agenda is to introduce the keynote speaker, but we are preparing the slide and the presentation. But we can wait for that. Has anybody heard this statement? That gone a long way. Okay, let me explain. If this is the right destination, that podium, I keep going this way. So the statement is, if you've gone a long way, you keep going. So keep going, you've gone a long way. Suddenly you realize it's the wrong way. And then a U-turn. It takes you a step to the right path. That's what we're going to do. That's what we are going to, we're going to make sure that if there's any other practice, any kind of medical practice that is different, that is not quality, we need to distinguish ourselves. Okay, so the presentation is ready. So at this point, we are going to be introduced for today, Director General, the Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Please, a round of applause.
Oh, you want to wire? Okay. Can you just put this in your pockets and clip it? Yep. Okay, thank you for decorating me. The chairman of ISN, friend and colleague of Medical Laboratory Council of Nigeria, represented by my very big friend on the line, Dr. The members, before I go to the members, I think it is important that I also make the U-turn that my friend talked about. The U-turn I'm making is recognition of the management of ISN. Thank you, CFO, for doing. Julie, thank you, all of you. But why I start by thanking you is because of the wonderful work that you're doing, and we'll talk about that today. Then our Medical Laboratory Council members here, I'm glad to it's always a pleasure to be in your midst. The pressmen, I do appreciate your service, because you will be sending this message to where they need to hear it. Today, I decided to dress like a preacher so that you know that I'm actually here to preach quality. My starting point will be to sincerely thank the chairman, because yesterday when I was sitting at the airport, I slowed down, or I stopped to ask myself, why did set up for do this? Why would you spend close to 500,000 naira breakthrough field, including medical laboratory science? I made a promise. That promise is care and the patient first. Step ahead to assure that they are not just doing their part, but you. So I team, I promise that NINAS will be a partner in this effort. Anything on this standard, and every other standard that has to do with medical lab practice. Can I change this in here? I have to ask. Is this screen? Oh, okay. All right. So again, I work for NINAS, so I want to keep my job. So let me just use to. We are Nigerian accreditation quality. It was done by European body. Recently, the Federal Executive Council and Mr. President signed the National Quality Policy, which now recognizes NINAS for conformity bodies. And then CAC also reincorporated NINAS body in Nigeria. Mandate, the major one being to accredit conformity. People have laws that allow them to do accreditation. So let no one misunderstand that, but this is what the government application of ISO 15189 in Nigeria as family. I think the important thing is what I said when I started. First, right now we are International Halal Accreditation Forum. That is for accreditation bodies that also provide accreditation to conformity assessment bodies. And we are also full members of ECOWAS accreditation system, ECOWAS. We have issued accreditation 24 is the standard for personnel certification. Also have issued accreditation in 021 is the standard for bodies. We have also certification bodies. Now, 2001 certification needed to get overseas. Now that to them. NINAS accredited, of course, with 225 is testing labs for food, water, and we have also accredited ISO 179. Conformity assessment body have been accredited. Active accreditation. This number and this number that is not just accreditation. Assessors for NINAS, so about 140 something working, and this training they are taking. Want to be, and then finally we have done trainings. All of them are on standard. Why do we bother to do it? As the chairman say, right now labs think is for plenty of money. Otherwise, AF, and that is mutual recognition arrangement and multilateral arrangement respectively. So that is for leaders. Let's go back to 151. I'm start by telling you how happy I am that Ophili is here, Dr. Ophili is here. And when, can't remember, I think it was Valerie that called me in the night, said, do you have your presentation? Sorry, I'm disclosing that here. I said to her, honestly, I don't. I've been traveling, I don't, but before I sleep, I'll get you one. Then I said to myself, after all, Dr. Philly is here. All the technical, I'm going to do it after break. The national chair for this standard technical committee at Sun, right? Yeah. Okay, so you are in a good hands. Okay, so 15189 is for quality and competence of medical laboratories. All of us know that. My presentation, because of Ophili's intervention and help, will be very short. I will talk a bit about the influences on this standard, who and who influences this standard, or who and who brought it to bear. And then I'll talk about the structure of the standard. And then we dwell a little bit on the QMS, or just the outline. And then I will speak more on quality control, because I think that's where we have conversation to do. Hopefully we do the nitty-gritty of discussing each of the clause. I hope I'm not giving you extra work. Okay. Passes a range of activities that they need to achieve and maintain high level of accuracy and proficiency, provide best service to patients and physicians. This my definition did not talk about, there was no money in that definition. Is best service to the patient first, physician that ultimately rely on, which include monitoring and controlling quality of material, reagents, instrument, and reliable reporting of test result. We will get to a point where we look at the entire cycle. And for the entire cycle of laboratory activities, you just have to get it right. Each time you get it wrong, a good quality system does the following four things. Namely, it has SOP for everything. If there are things you do in the lab and there is no SOP for it, what do we call that? Assumption. It has also management requirements, and you follow the management, you comply with it. And a good QA will provide a documented corrective action that needed to be taken when there is need for one. And it must show responsibility. Who are we going to hold responsible for of the procedure? And again, that and your employees are not competent, you may spend millions or millions buying from ISN. I think they will be happy that you have people who are competent to operate the equipment you purchase from them. And that is part of why you are investing on this training. If we do this, we need to know that quality assurance is quality control. So quality control is examining control materials of known substances along with patient samples to monitor the accuracy and the precision of the complete examination in analytical process. With all this definition, we now walk to the standard. I hope Ophelia does that, is I skip the history of 15189, which is a very lovely history. You can read it up. You will see how long it took and how many people or how many hands and feet that were involved. 7 good years to develop a standard. And this standard was first published in 2000 and revised in 2012. Okay, so quickly, the structure of the standard can be split into 2: the management requirements and the technical requirements. And this is where I'm hoping that my friend helped me to make sure that you understand each and every. The management requirements, the organization and management responsibilities, and quality management system. It also includes the document control, examination of referrals and external services, supply advisory services. It explains clearly what you should do in all these circumstances. Complaints, resolution of complaints, identification and control of non-conformities, corrective actions, preventive action, continuous improvement, and evaluation and audit, management review. So these are all in the management requirement. Then on the technical part, personnel top the list. And that is why what we're doing today is important. It's very important because accreditation of a lab looks at 3 major areas: the personnel, the equipment, the process. So it's very important that we continue to re-educate ourselves in this area that we have chosen to work. Then the technical requirements talks about the accommodation and environmental conditions of the lab, the laboratory equipment, reagents, consumables, pre-examination process and actual examination process, ensuring quality of examination result, that's post-examination process, and reporting and releasing of the result. In all these steps, if you drop the ball in one step, there's a lot that is at stake. Maybe I have a case example that I'll give you on a case of ball being dropped. And it's more harmful than people playing handball and drops them. So, who influenced this standard? The major influences are these 5 groups. First is the ILAC Guide 25 that provided the foundation. And then ISO 17025 of 1999 and the ISO 9001, which is the quality management system standard. Clinical Laboratory Standard Institute provided a whole lot of documentation to support the writing of ISO 15189. and also the College of American Pathologists checklist. So you notice that it's a very, very robust standard, and institutions and people that were involved in putting it together are so credible that I doubt whether reviews after reviews, this standard has stayed and has met the test of time, and it continues to be one of the most expanding or applied standard apart from 9001. Okay, the quality management system, especially, you can box them into 12 boxes or 12 pillars: the organization, the personnel, the equipment, your purchases and inventory, the process control, information management, documents and records, occurrence management, assessment, process improvement, customer service, facility, and safety. It is very, very important that when Dr. Philly will be discussing each of these, you actually begin to x-ray your practice in all these boxes in your lab. I think what you need to do today is reflection. Be reflecting on what do I do in my organization against each of these that you are going to be discussing today. Laboratory activities have a cycle, and in each of the steps that makes the cycle, everything I've talked about concerning, or every step on the technical requirements or those pillars of quality management system, one way or the other must be complied with in each of these steps. The cycle starts with the patient. Patient with whether with the physician or a medical personnel for pre-examination, and then from there to a point where you have a prescription for laboratory examination, and then sample is being collected, and when samples are collected, it has to be taken to the examination point. Now, transportation or moving of that sample from that spot of collection to the other is a very, very important process that has to be guided jealously. As you may know, the new 17025 recognizes sampling as a full-fledged laboratory activity that can be accredited. That's how important it is. So you can just establish a lab, and all you do is collect samples and transport samples. You can be accredited for it. And then when you now have the sample at the examination point, that's where the most of the activities happen. After examination, post-examination activities starts, and that is reporting or results. There is no part of this cycle that you can feel it is not important. All of them are as important, because mistake in each of these steps is too much of a mistake. Now, I know that today we hope to demystify 15189 for you. 15189 for one day will be challenging for anybody to demystify it for you. But what we can do today is to spark the interest, to put, I don't know how they call it, but to make you hunger for doing it. But 15189 don't come alone. Most of you practice these 5 pieces on the board on your own. The 15189 is sitting as the master in the center. There is also the standard for safety, the standard for point of care, and sample collection guides or guidance documents. There are multiple of them depending on where you're working. If you put all this together, then you can say I have a suit for medical laboratory practice. If I were you, most of these standards are, you can download, except for 15189. You can find others online, free copies. Please, they are very important for you as a practitioner and important for the patient too. So now, as I promised, I'm diverting from the technical thing over to you, Philip. Let's get more real with ourselves now. Let's talk about accreditation a bit. We always hear accreditation, certification, but why do you bother accreditation or certification? Or do I just run my practice, forgetting everything? Well, certification is the assessment of another organization to ensure that it is meeting the requirements of a required standard or regulation. And certification is performed by certification bodies to meet requirements of ISO 9001. Is just an example. There are many standards for which you can be certified. But ISO does not grant certification bodies the authority to assess for 15189. So when you hear somebody say, I'm certified to 15189, that is not a correct language. You cannot be certified for 15189. You can be accredited. So, and I think it should be important that those of us in this practice use that proper language. Then accreditation is the assessment of an organization to ensure that it is performing in accordance with the requirements of a required standard or regulation. Accreditation is performed by accreditation bodies to meet the requirements of accepted documents, including but not limited to what we're discussing today, 15189. But like I told you at the beginning, right now we are accrediting in 5 major large standards that the Nigerian economy needs. And ISO, on the contrary, on the other side, grants accreditation body the right or the authority to assess laboratories for 15189. So I hope we will be able to differentiate the two. Certification is represented by a written assurance of a third party, while accreditation is a formal recognition by an authoritative body that an organization or a person has the competence on the line to work and meet standards set forth by the recognized governing bodies. So, if you want to get accredited, what are the steps? The example I gave here is for NINAS. Accreditation process might differ from accreditation body to accreditation body. But we have 10 steps, but here my numbering went to work here, so I have 8, and that's why I ended in 9. So we have 10 steps in NINAS. Step 1 is make an application to NINAS. How do you make application to NINAS? It takes you only email on the our info@ninas.ng to write, please, I would like to get information or application package from you, you get that within 24 hours. And then you complete the application and return it back. That's step 2. We receive your application. Then we give a reviewer to look at your application. And we will then make a decision whether you have enough for us to even ask you, okay, we can go ahead. If you don't have enough, we'll advise you not to waste your money for now. You can spend more time on building, filling the gaps that you have. So if it's something we can proceed with, we'll send you an invoice. Step 3 is when you have it. We negotiate. Pre-assessment, you require one. There are some laboratories that just when you review pre-assessment, but such labs are plenty in Nigeria. Yeah. Step 5, the pre-assessment team will submit their report, and 6 full assessment is taken. 7 final reports of assessment. Reports of assessment team is received for review. Accreditation Advisory Committee. The Accreditation Advisory Committee is to make their decision. 3 we nominate particular, and 3 of them will never meet, but each of them will submit independent report to the DG of NINAS. Report and the report of Director of Accreditation and DG's own personal review of the entire accreditation document, which you must read in any case, will now make a decision on whether to grant accreditation or not. If we grant, then the final step is surveillance and re-accreditation. One may ask, all this process, how long does it take? Chairman is asking how much does it cost? Okay. First, with how long does it take? Our internal calculation, when you're working with a lab that is perfect, a lab that has applied or implemented 15189 100%, so no problems. Our calculation is that it takes 90 days to be accredited. Those 90 days includes all the days we give to committee to make decision, the number of days the CEO have to read the entire file, the number of trips or flights or all those things that are said, so we can get it done in 90 days. On the cost, depends on the number of scope you have. But there's something I really need to laboratory practitioners here. You know, money has always scared laboratories from engaging in accreditation, and it was correct that accreditation is expensive. Labs, before we came on board, were spending $15,000, $20,000 or more. I don't know how much of Philly they spent getting accredited before outside. But NINA's accreditation is between $3,000 to $5,000. So if you take it down to Naira, one point you can get was when we started. Now the minimum fee you could pay for accreditation is .something million naira. What happened is because most of these things are changed. Flat is now 100 and something, and DSCA for our workers have increased. So if you weigh it against the 20, 30,000, 50,000 that the white people or our neighbors used to come and collect in Nigeria and go away. You see that government took a very important decision. We're saving money for this economy, $7 that would have gone out. And I encourage you to you have 1 year to finish it. So within 1 year, just like a ticket, it will not expire. The same process I have described here. Now, I want to emphasize, you can accreditation. Unless you quit, is a process improvement activity. So if you are assessed and you have non-conformities, of course it will be itemized and you'll be given time to fill the non-conformities. When you fill it, you send it in. The lead assessor will review it. If it's cleared, he notifies us, oh, it's all clear. And they can go back and forth with you till 1 year passes and you could not make it. You still didn't fail, but you have to start again. So but 1% compliance to the standard before accreditation, not 99, not 99. Achieving 99% level of quality means accepting 1% error rate. Is that true, mathematics? Is 1% important? Oh, we all agree it's important. But we have been brought up in educational system where 70, 80 is the distinction. In this business, 99 is not enough. And now, I would like to say this. I want to thank you are helping Nigerians on slanter program. Is that what you call it? Okay. I want to thank them. They are helping laboratories approach accreditation. So it's a well invested money for the life of our people. But for those of you or is allowed in 5 stars. 5% error allowed, and you know, and when people have 5 stars, they tell you about it is a big improvement. But I don't want you to celebrate that you have arrived. Let's see why. There was a study made in France about 1% error. If you, the ones that work for water and electricity sector in France, 1% error in judgments results in 14 minutes disruption in water and electricity. Then they tried the mail delivery people. 1% error, 50,000 of parcels are lost. Then they tried the midwives. 1% error, 22 newborn babies dropped from the hands of midwives. 1% error, in a facility where they prepare lunch for high school kids, 6,000 lunches and over 100 schools were infected or contaminated with bacteria. 1% error. And 1% error, 3 bad landings in one airport. This was a result of 1% error. In aviation, you don't accommodate 1% error. In what we're discussing today, laboratories, can be a life. Okay? Laboratory errors cost time, personnel effort. You know you don't work alone in the lab, so there's a teamwork. Let's assume from the point of sample collection, sample preparation, all the way to analysis, and then the person who was to release the result made a mistake. He just screwed up everything everybody had done, wasted your time, wasted company money, and then put the patient at risk. It probably is about 1% error, but he's destroyed everything. So I ask here, can you estimate the value of time and team effort wasted? Or can you even try to estimate patient outcome when you have made mistake? So as we're discussing this, begin to reflect. In my practice, what if I've made this 1% error? Where did it lead people to? What happened to the patients that all the laboratory result that you probably carried out assumption? Somebody here in confidence assume a result. Maybe you're trying to close and go home. You say, anyway, plus. You must have malaria. So, I always try to bring this message home, and I tell you, me and you have been given opportunity to sometime determine the future of families, the future of people's life. It is not about money. I don't approach this work for money. There's a case example that one error, just one error, the pen refuses to go. The coffin on my presentation is for a 14-year-old boy, a student of Navy School, Akpabuyo, Calabar. He was rushed from school to a very expensive private hospital in Calabar. And somehow they did all the checks, all the examination we're discussing here now, and the physician concluded he needed a pint of blood. The child was on the phone with the father. They said, I need blood. The father was in another city. And the father said, okay, I'll come. At least I know we are the same blood group and all that. I can do that. Halfway, the doctors said they can't wait for the father. Got blood at the blood bank and started transfusion. The boy died. Check concluded that it was mismatch. Any of us could have made that error. The error was made by someone in the lab. And it was not an analysis, it's on the result sheet. That was the only child, only son of the man as of then. So I would like you to approach your job with this extra. Like I started saying, I said chairman of ISN is going extra mile. It's going extra mile. So you must have the culture of extra mile to be in the medical laboratory business. So how can you avoid such error that into the coffin? You must have internal quality control. It is not negotiable. And this refers to the set of procedures undertaken by laboratory staff for the continuous and immediate monitoring of laboratory work in order to decide whether the result is reliable enough to be released. It is not every time you do analysis that you can release the result. It is not. So the last point you are done and you need to release, ask yourself, is this qualified? Have I done everything I needed to do to assure myself that this is, at least I have followed everything? And those areas that is very, very tedious, we must ensure that we control specimen and specimen storage, guide jealously the time between collection and performing the analysis. Depending on the sample, it can change a lot of things. Calibration of the equipment and instruments. Training, and training. You can't talk so much about training. And then clerical mistakes. That's the one I just said that sent somebody into casket. So can any of you say, I can't make mistake? Is it possible? So, but can quality control be out of control? Huh? No, let's be practical. You have in your lab system in place that you said, I have quality control system. I have things I do. Can that system fail you at some point? What do you do when it fails you? I need one example. What do you do when you think, yes sir?
When it's space, you troubleshoot to know where the error is coming from.
You troubleshoot.
Yes. And you also document.
Very good. Very good. QC can go out of control. The good practice, if you are committed, stop test. When you stop test, identify, correct the problem, repeat the test. Even if you have done many, repeat all the tests on patient sample, especially the one that not gone. In fact, even if it has gone out and you know that you can reach record, repeat the test on the patient samples and controls after correction. Do not report patient results until the problem is solved and controls indicate proper performance. If you are in a hurry or your boss is worrying you or there is pressure, you report result when you know the control, whether it's equipment or the process or whatever is not correct. There's no difference between you and a car that was being driven by a drunk person. It's bound to crash. So when you have quality control, when you have a QC program, the following 4 steps is very visiting it regularly. You must establish written policies and procedure for your QC and then constantly train the staffs on it. Documentation is very important and you should not compromise on it. Review your QC data regularly. That is the easiest way for you to flag off when the control goes out of control. Those are the key steps to constantly being on top of your game as far as quality control is concerned. Now, nobody asked me who was in the coffin because I didn't mention the name. Do you want to know? Sir?
I said you made it up.
I made it up? I wish I can make it up. That was my only son. That was my only son, 14 years old. I was not in this job. I was not on this job when this happened. And when this happened, the world was like closing down on me. Most of you that know me very well, I'm a pharmacist, not a medical lab scientist. But then part of my prayer, apart from the grace to take it, also grace to do something for other children that are still alive in this field. And I think God heard my prayer, because there is no way a pharmacist would have been speaking medical laboratory science language as I do today if it is not grace of God. Yes, I know I've gone to schools, I know I've gone, but at that point the thing happened to me. I said to myself, I must find of making impact in medical laboratory. Even if I save one more child, is a, but I think God heard that prayer, and from nowhere I was appointed the CEO of Nina's. I don't know why. For my friends like Dr. Philip and people in MLSN that knows my story, they know when I discuss 15189, I do that with passion. I do it looking down or looking up and saying, Lord, you hear my prayers. I want you to remove my son from and think it's possible for the next prescription that you have in your hand. It is possible to happen again. But why I'm saying this openly is for you not to make that mistake. Do this, due diligence. Do this as if you expect there's a mistake. Look for it. So before the next result that you release, please be sure that you don't send somebody else, like my son, into coffin. And finally, sir, again, I began with thanking you. I am also thanking you again, and with the promise I've made, I am ready to further discussions with your management team. If we find things we can do together, you now know that I have reason to fight for this cause. It's a personal reason. And that is why if I'm discussing the issue of 15189 with you, I don't compromise on it. It is an agreement I have with my God. So please and please, NINAS will be offering the best we can. The best we can without breaking the law or the standard to assist labs to get accredited. We even go as far as breaking payments into, what do you call it? Installment payments. Our focus is not money. Since I took that job, if not for my son, I would have walked away, go back to America or go and do it, because we have not, not underline it, received $1 from Nigerian government since we began. And we pay salaries every month. We do our work every month. You saw the number of training, saw the number of I also know that medical laboratory council, some of which may not be here, have also joined us in that sacrifice. We have assessors from this place, pathologists that are assessors, and I have much more, many of them as even 17025 assessors. And you can, sorry for bothering you with my story. I will save you plenty of time. I'll stop here. And then, sir, thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Respectfully, can we all be outstanding?
Thank you.
Silent for his son. May the soul of his son impact.
You may all sit down. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Mr. Kanya, thank you. Sorry about your loss. Commenting on one thing I got from it, I would like to emphasize, is the fact that you don't have to release all the results. And I think that really struck me, that it's not every time you have a result that you have to release it. Each time you get a result, you have to think twice. The issue of results. When we were students, a glucose estimation from the same ward, the same patient, but the results were two different. One was reading about 100 and something for me. I took the trouble of doing it again. Result and release the result. I had to go to the ward and met the doctor who signed the result, who requested for the test. A Dr. Akindele. Expected. Thank God. What happened? What happened? After collecting the first specimen, he gave insulin. Okay. And I didn't realize that. And that is why you have to really think whether can you release this result? Does it really make sense? If you do a specimen twice and it's giving you two divergent results, you have to ask yourself, who is fooling who here? Who is making the mistake? So I think I like that bit about not releasing result, and I thank you very much. Thanks for a very good presentation.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. There's one thing I have always here is, he said that 1% error can be a lie. And it's really surprising me, because during our own time in school, you know, when you score, you feel you have done excellent. Then in acceptable to us, and we patients that we, even for us as we sell medical equipment, we know that behind every transaction there is a life at the end of every transaction, and we treat it with utmost urgency. And I am happy to be in this session. I am really learning. I'm not a medical lab scientist, I'm a customer service manager, but you all understand that quality is also key. When we supply reagents to customers, we know that there is a life that needs that reagent in the laboratory. Okay, for now, to go on a tea break. Our virtual attendees, sorry we don't have tea for you. You can just organize your tea for yourself. But for those here, the ushers will be leading you. We'll just take a break for like 20 minutes, then we'll be back after that. Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Well, I'll ask you if there's any
the virtual attendees. Hope you enjoyed your tea break too. All right, so we had a nice time, and next in our agenda is a lecture by the Registrar of Medical Lab Science Council of Nigeria. He is able to here today by Medical Lab Nigeria, Mr. Donald Ofili. Donald Ofili, please, a round of applause as we welcome Mr. Donald Ofili to the stage. A round of applause, that's why we give you quality.
Thank you so much, MC. Good morning, everybody. The chairman of ISN, the management of ISN, colleagues here present, the Director General of Nigerian National Accreditation System, my friend and brother, Dr. Celestine Okanya, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I bring you warm greetings from the Registrar and CEO of the Medical Laboratory Science Council of Nigeria, Dr. Tosan Irabo. I need to represent the Council in this particular summit.
MLSCN Accreditation Service. So 15189-2012. My friend and brother has done a lot on this particular topic. So we'll be going straight to the nitty-gritty of this topic, as he said. When I mean scope, I mean the scope. 892 to demystify. Even though the word demystification is a very big word, because it takes a lot to actually demystify this standard. You can't do that. But we'll try our best to do within the time. We'll look at terms and definitions. Then we'll look at the management requirements, technical requirements, and then some references. It is also important the organization that pay my bills, because without the organization I can't be here. With the Medical Laboratory Science Council of Nigeria, it's a federal statutory agency of government established by Act 11 of 2003. You find that in the Laws of Federation of Nigeria 2004 Cap M25. You see that I said I am part of Medical Science Council of Nigeria, only responsible for accreditation of labs in Nigeria, and we according to 5189, the latest edition 2012, even though it's under review now, maybe before the end of 2023 edition.
The Act under Section 4H mandates to accredit by formal test.
Recognition, the competence of medical laboratories to perform specific tests. Service, which is the Laboratory Science Council of Nigeria, was established to safeguard our impartiality, provision of medical laboratory accreditation services, according to the requirements of another standard called ISO IEC 17011-2017. And that standard, I've brought a copy today so that you will know that if accreditation also comes with some, in this case, the ISO 17017 is the requirement for accreditation bodies to be accredited. Are you following? Medical laboratory MLSCN of formulating policies as well as providing oversight functions on the activities of council. But the day administration of the council is the CEO. Advisory Committee IAC and the Technical Committee on Accreditation. I said earlier that we also follow the requirements of ISO 17011-2017 clause 0.1 that this, for instance, legal entity and impartiality entity define parts of an entity such that it is legally responsible for its accreditation activities. In this case, MLSCN Accreditation Service is part of the Medical Laboratory Science Council of Nigeria, and we are providing accreditation according to the requirements of ISO 17011-2017. Please note that government deemed to be a you will agree body of laws in this country without policies, without procedures, without guidance documents in this country, it will be very difficult to organize human beings. You need a body of laws in check. In the same way, you need a standard, you need policies to organize and run your laboratory. An accreditation body combination also operates under, but in this case, we have chosen to operate as MLSCN Accreditation Service while being part of the Laboratory Council of Nigeria. In the same vein, under the impartiality requirements 4.4, clause 4.41, accreditation shall be undertaken impartially. 4.42 means the accreditation body shall be responsible for the impartiality of its accreditation activities and shall not allow commercial, financial, or other pressures to compromise impartiality with where an accreditation body, including a government accreditation body. Now, it shall have top management commitments to it shall document and make public, which includes the importance of impartiality in carrying out its accreditation activities, managing conflict of interest, and ensuring objectivity of accreditation activities. It's important that I dive into all this. You know that even though as a regulatory body, there are this requires 17011-2017 ISN Accreditation Service was set to safeguard our impartiality in the delivery of accreditation services. Even though as a larger organization, we also do inspection, we do monitoring, and we also provide EQ services. This particular department has nothing to do with our and the like. So this particular department provides accreditation according to the requirements of 011. And we provide accreditation for only medical laboratory testing using ISO 15189, in this case 2012. Department, by the grace of God, I'm the director of Emission Accreditation Service. We have some other staff in charge of quality assurance, administration, accreditation assessment, transfer. For us, knowledge transfer is training, just like if we're having training. Now, this is the organogram of the Medical Laboratory Science Council of Nigeria. You can see the governing board followed by the registrar. Now you see by the left-hand side MLSCN Accreditation Service with the director there. Now you see the Independent Advisory Committee concerning accreditation from assessors, packaged by the lead assessor, goes to the Independent Advisory Committee. You also see down the Technical Committee on Accreditation, they advise Emission Accreditation Service on issues bordering ISO 15189 in terms of the documents, other guidance documents used in assessment. You can see the staff of Emission Accreditation Service, left-hand side, the head of assurance, the head of administration and corporate services, head accreditation assessment, and of course the head knowledge transfer. Then you can see other staff of council, internal audit, which is different from Emission Accreditation Service. It's important for big organograms to understand where we are and sitting as a council. Now let's go to the reason why we are here. And it will be important that with ISO, the International Organization for Standardization, you can see the way it's written. Ordinarily, if you are asked, if you have not seen this before, you would think ISO means International Standardization Organization. But look at the way it is pronounced. International Organization for Standardization. The French, the way they pronounce their word, they move from the beginning, jump to the end, middle. So the International Organization for Standardization specifies requirements for competence and quality that are particular to medical laboratories. In this case, the ISO 15189/2012. It is acknowledged that a country could have its own specific regulations or requirements applicable to some or other or its professional personnel and their activities and responsibilities in this domain. At a point in this country when it became very difficult to implement this particular standard, the Federal Ministry of Health put together what we call the National Laboratory Technical Working Group, and with Chairman Professor Tomori, that you know, of WHO. And that particular committee, they were able to bring a lot of stakeholders together. And we started thinking, how do we demystify this standard? How do we make this standard available to all levels of laboratory healthcare, be it tertiary, secondary, and primary? And two particular strategic committee working with the Standards Organization of Nigeria, ISN, able to domesticate this particular standard. So if you go to the SON library today, you probably find the ISO 15189 2012, but it's not 2012. It is called ISO NIS 15189 20. That is the Nigerian. That is the standard for medical laboratories. Is the same standard. Particular one for Nigerians. It is now called Nigerian Industrial Standard 2019. At the ISO level, there's what we call identical modification, which means it's the same standard. You are domesticating it for your national use. You want to purchase this standard, just like we purchase this particular one from the ISO. It costs $200. Get it. You. The Nigerian Naira. The same standard. But this particular one, it is $180 if you want to buy it from ISO headquarters in Geneva. But in Nigeria, it's just 1,000 naira. Go to SON. This is my. If you want your own, go and buy. As a laboratory, you can't get accredited if you don't have your. Not the one you go and download from internet. Your copy. As you move along, you know why. You must own your own. Am I communicating? Now, scope of ISO 15189-2012. This international standard specifies requirements for quality and competence laboratories. This international is used by medical laboratory management system and assessing their own competence. It can also be used for confirming or confirming of laboratories by regulatory bodies, by and even accreditation. Take for a company and you want to actually appoint a referral laboratory that to actually as a customer, a bank, a medical department, and you really want to have retainership, you can use this particular standard to actually know the level of the laboratory. As a regulatory, the standard, they develop their own checklist for regulation. The accreditation body that accredit medical laboratories. I talked about normative basis. I will also talk about the following reference documents indispensable for the application of the ISO 17000. Principles. You will also will be reading this document to make you understand the standard. The Article 025 general requirements for competence of testing and calibration laboratories. You also have the ISO guide, standardization and related activities. Read them up. Then ISO guide 1999 international vocabulary of methodology of metrology, basic and general concepts and associated terms. Now let's look at some terms and definitions. Standards. Standard compliance. How to comply with regulations, various policy, processes and procedures. Very important. A policy and a procedure in your accreditation journey is important. that you know the difference between a standard, a policy, and a procedure. The standard have a lot of requirements. In this case, is something you, the management requirements and the technical requirements. The difference between the 9001 2010 and the ISO 15189 2012 is that the national one have only management. We are technical people, and the 15189 have introduced technical requirements. In the past, you hear of banks, the big banks in this nation, the UBAs, the GTBs, the Zeniths, all have ISO 9001 2015. It just is compliant. They can't be accredited to 15189, but there's nothing there. Am I? And that particular standard with is certification. It is not accreditation. There are some assessment bodies that will certify according to ISO 9001 2015. Those ones are not accreditation bodies. When Dr. Okanya was giving his lecture, he talked about International Accreditation Forum and the ILAC, International Laboratory Accreditation Corporation. The ILAC is a big organization accrediting accreditation bodies, but IAF take care of certification bodies because they don't look at accreditation. Am I communicating? Now, we also have regulation, like the Medical Laboratory Science Council of Nigeria is a regulatory body. I said that if you don't have constitution, you don't have policies, you don't have procedures, that society can be likened to what happened in the animal kingdom. So we need constitution, you need standards, just like how you have ISO bringing out standards. Standard is just a guidance document. They are not telling you mandatorily you must use it, but to achieve accreditation you will need such standards. To do business internationally you will need standards. Like if you are engaged in international trade, Nigeria and Canada, there are specifications for these goods to leave Nigeria to come into Canada. Issues of value chain, issues of standards. That's how you start. I have the standards of Nigeria, the custodian of standards in Nigeria. So they will tell you particular product manufactured enter Europe, there are specifications by European Union for it to cross border. So if you don't meet up specifications, you can consume the goods in Nigeria, but it will not enter Europe. So you understand why the government of Nigeria need to get involved in what we are doing. Continental Free Trade Agreement with headquarters in Ghana. Gospel must reach everywhere. You can't play in the big league. You can't make money internationally if you are not playing. If you are goods, there is no value addition. Today we have the Nexim Bank in Nigeria. They are supposed to be supporting SMEs. Value addition, so that goods manufactured in Nigeria can be accepted internationally. Today, that's why I salute the effort of the chairman ISN. Today, we are marketing proudly medical equipment manufactured in Europe and Canada. What are the ones manufactured? Can they trust our equipment in Europe. How long, as a nation, as a continent, are we going to continue to receive from Canada, US,
and Europe into Nigeria without paying?
our own product and also export to other nations? Specifications, requirements, these are languages, terminology our government must hear. What is accreditation? Accreditation is a procedure by which an authoritative body gives formal recognition that a body or person is competent at specific task. Sorry.
The word competency
is very key because of the technical
requirement
there. You must be competent to perform the task assigned to you. And
that's why, as a laboratory, we talk about competency
assessment.
It is not enough
to have the qualification.
Yes, I have a BMLS. I will have a PhD
in hematology. Competence to analyze that particular test. Certification is a procedure by which a third party gives written assurance that a process of service conforms. Then licensure, just like the council license to practice as a medical laboratory scientist, is the granting of our ability to practice competency, usually is on demonstrated knowledge, training and skills. License is not something
that anybody can give.
It's not certification. Licensure is given
by the state.
State in this country, the country. So, if you are a medical laboratory scientist, you have license to practice. It therefore means that the state, in this case Nigeria, have licensed you to practice, which means you can sue and be sued on that particular service you are providing. If you are invited to a courtroom, you are to defend a case of or maybe there is a transfusion error, and a judge asking you questions. The first thing they will ask you, are you licensed to practice medical laboratory science? He won't ask you which university did you attend. Are you licensed? You can go to university, not there, licensed. You can be a BMLS graduate, but you're not licensed. If you schooled abroad, maybe in UK or US, before you get in Nigeria, you must do a 1 year. For all foreign graduates, you will take a national examination. You will pass before a license will be given to you. Even though you are coming from Harvard, you must do that. So that is the power of licensure, given by the state to practice. And that's why license. You don't say for this year, I don't have money, I want to renew. You are a quack if you do that.
Just a quack. Parading PhD. Just a quack if you don't have license to practice for that year.
We are still on the ISO 15189-2012. International standards tailored specifically for medical laboratories, particular requirements for quality and competence. That is the standard there. I brought a copy so that you see. I carry my own everywhere. It's in my handbag everywhere. It's my copy. Get yours.
Am I communicating? It derived from ISO 9001-2000. 1999. Dr. Celeste also traced this history. First issued in 2003, updated in 2007, 12th edition. I'm also authoritatively telling you that a new edition may come out in 2023 because now it's at an advanced stage in terms of review. It's prepared by technical committee called ISO TC 212. By the grace of God, I represent this committee and some other SON. It had the secretariat at the CLSI, the clinical laboratory. Now let's go to the document proper. It has 15 under management requirements. Then it has 10 clauses under technical requirements. Now let's go try our hands in the journey of demystifying this standard. The very first clause, 4.1, organization and management responsibility. It takes management's commitment to quality and good practice to actually implement quality management system. First, there must be management commitment. There's what is called quality policy. That is issue at the highest level of management. Take for instance ISN. You come in here, apart from seeing your mission and your vision, I also want to see quality policy statement signed itself. This particular organization is committed to implementing management at every level of your service. Yeah. This level of commitment from your top management to actually implement quality management system. Be it at the top, be it at the management, be it at the you are implementing. If you implement QMS at every level, even at security, we're here. When somebody came in here, a very sound lady, and addressed this gathering on security. My colleague, that look at, that is exactly what ISN is paying for. How many hotels do you go to and you see that kind of address? But in some hotels, you say it is a security man. That lady is a graduate from the way she spoke. Told us about safety issues, fire hydrants, smoke detectors, fire extinguishers. It takes training. It takes training to deliver that kind of speech. She must have been trained in security, biosafety, and safety generally. So that's exactly what you are paying for. It therefore means that they are implementing quality management system, but not according to the requirements of ISO 159-2012, but according to the requirements of ISO 9001-2015. So, ISN as a company issued by the management, signed by the highest level of management. Legal requirements. You can't exist as a company without regulation. You can't exist as a company without registration of your business. You are not doing Nigeria a favor by going to CAC, for instance, or passing through National Assembly to have your legislated or to have your business registered. It is a requirement. If, for instance, there are infractions as conduct your business. A client sues God help you that if you are taken to court and you are not registered, you go to jail. So that is legal entity by the government. Why do you exist if you are not registered? So I say, well, you must be registered. They will have levels of registration. Like in Nigeria, we have business names. That one you can 20,000 naira or 30 registered. Where you have shares. Now, ethical, operational integrity. ISN is doing today is under what we call corporate social responsibility. They are not only out of this summit. There is their contribution to the industry, to the space where they operate. Brought together practitioners, regulatory bodies, accreditation bodies, the presidents, and their stakeholders, and listen to this particular summit where experts will be talking about quality management system. They are not making money, but government is taking notes that you are not thinking about making money, but you are giving back to society. That's what we do in this nation. Laboratory director. You, as a laboratory, have responsibilities. You must have. And it's not enough to say I'm a laboratory director. Nothing written, nothing documented. We say in the local parlance, done. Job description written. So what is your job description as a laboratory director or a laboratory manager? Department will be written. The standard is a guidance document. It will just guide you on what to do. Spell out requirements, management requirements based on you to domesticate that in your laboratory. Job description, and it also a small document because we are trying to demystify the standard. A lot of people look at the quality manual as something too big. Actually provide it's a small containing your policies. I told you earlier that a policy emerges from somewhere. I've been to a program where somebody talked about laws of policy from ministries, then coming back. We talk about procedure. My colleague talked about differences. There are differences. You must have access within your lab, and you must have procedures. Then job aids that will help you. Standard procedures. The word standard is there. There is a standard. Templates on how to develop an SOP. You don't just SOP and say this is a job aid. Talk about methodology. There are references. There are limitations. So it's more detailed. And you need training to understand the nitty-gritty. So I will tell you, I won't give you, if you are a lab hoping to be accredited in the next 2 or 3 years, you must be hearing this gospel now. Manager as a director, hear this gospel. You may not be the back. You will now decide whether I will need a mentor to get what they have learned. I get angry when I go to some labs. You see a one-man lab. You can doing everything and you want to be accredited. I want to see a vision. I want to see a lab. I'll give a lot of labs. Those days started like 1 room, 2 room lab. But if you listen to them, saying it, for instance, used to have a small infection. Today, they are, because he had to create something. It's a multi-million. It's not a crime to start small, but you must write message. Establish something enduring. Generation will come to with that. But not something that you will create within 10 years. Doing. So it's important that we create something that will last. There are a lot of businesses in Europe, Canada and US stayed more than 100 years. Why can't we create something like that? And today I'm not a pastor, but with what they are doing, they will stay more than 100 years because they are doing the right things. How did you find local companies doing what they are doing today? In Nigeria, we have local content. We have an agency for local content. Don't be expecting everything. Europe, we must think Nigeria. We talk about Africa capital. We shouldn't be depending on this bigger nation. Why? Why can't we also donate to them? It's important that of tomorrow. Sustainability should be the key word. And content. Like I said, you don't fail in accreditation, but you gain something, continual improvement. Until you have the culture of quality management system, until you begin to live quality, you begin to see, you'll be seeing accreditation as something too big. So develop that culture of implementing quality management system, then you will see accreditation as something that you can actually achieve. But if you don't have that culture, if that structure is not there, and that's why David, UNIDO, when they came into Nigeria, they conformity assessment of them, because these are building blocks towards accreditation. It's at the end. It's just to confirm all these things. But if, as a nation, we have not looked at our methodology, we have not looked at our standardization, conformity assessment, then how accreditation? How will you understand accreditation? So we want to see our Minister of Trade talk more on standardization, because you can't really succeed in international trade. Standardization, without accreditation, without methodology, without conformity assessment. Today, 2020. Let's say the agenda, because we are tired of where we are. There are our neighbors doing Kenya, South Africa, Egypt. They have all these structures. As giant Africa, we have no excuse. The market is here. Last week we had a lot of visitors in our place. Europeans. Yes. So develop our structures so that we can take advantage of the huge market and the huge Nigeria. We'll be here, generation, no job. People are coming in to take advantage of what we have. And that's why what we are doing today, we are building commerce through this lecture, through this summit, to ensure that 5-10 years from now, the story will be different. Let's say amen to that. Amen. I'm not preaching. No. Now, provision of adequate resources for functions to be performed. That's why I say management commitment. There are you need to provide resources. You need to purchase the right equipment, not the Luga type. For glasses to look at color change, and you think the 21st century. It's not possible. Out these parts. These 5 parts. And you are using for 3 parts or 1 part. Do you know that my son is 12-year-old son? I didn't teach him anything. In 5 minutes, he didn't need to ask me. He could have installed his own. Now I call him to ask my own. And you exist in the same nation and you think you survive. Today, you tell people say Yahoo, Yahoo, Yahoo. These are smart guys. I'm encouraging them. We need to harness this energy. It's sad. As a nation, our universities are on strike for 7 months, and we are paying lip service to it. Let's take advantage of this population to better our country. Huge population, and we are just looking at this energy wasting, and we call them we are smart guys to get, and the is magic. They will develop it. I'm telling you, today we don't have a national airline. Countries still have Kenya, South African air flying. For young graduates, you say they don't have job. Meanwhile, you didn't provide opportunities. Today, you go to Dubai. Because now, yes, the hub is here. People go to Dubai like if they are going to market. This night they are flying, they are back. And you don't have a national airline for this route. Emirates is making us we'll pull out. The Nigerian government is now begging them. It's not who is government itself? Government is you and I. Do it. And that's why what ISN is doing is good. The reason is that they are doing their best as citizens, good citizens. We all need to do our best as citizens. Because who is government? You and I. There is no way you are looking for government. Government is you and I. What are you doing in your own space? What are you doing in your own space? That is where we other nations are doing the same. We shouldn't be, Nigeria shouldn't be an exception. Israel will die for the state of Israel. Can an average Nigerian die for Nigeria to survive? That's the big question. This is the big question. So you must love your country to the point where if you have not gotten to that level, you have not started. Because that's my mentality. You and I, constitute the government. Don't be looking at the government as they are human beings. They are human beings. Let me continue. Now let's go to 4.2. Quality management system. Management has the responsibility to establish, document and implement an effective QMS. Documentation requirements, quality policy, I said it earlier, and quality objectives. So, I said you need to establish, first of all, you need a law. Then you have policies that will help you navigate. Take for instance, I have something here too. This is a subsidiary regulation. It's a Federal Government Republic of Nigeria official gazette. This one was derived from the Council Act. The act I mentioned earlier that established the Council, Act 11 of 2003. There's a portion in the act there that says the Council has the sole authority for IVDs. That's their sector. ISN. IVDs in Nigeria. But to give meaning to that particular legislation, this technical regulation by the same federal government of the federal justice. So this one will help you understand the law better. So that's why it's called a technical regulation. I don't know how many of you have heard of it's a friendly discussion between MLSCN and NAFDAC concerning ID. I call it friendly discussion because we are both of the same terms. Federal Ministry of Health. So we shouldn't be seen as I won't use the word. So it's a friendly discussion. So in order to understand that particular law better, we went for that gazette. This one called in vitro diagnosis done last year. So if you pick up the document, you understand why the Medical Laboratory Science Council is the organization responsible for regulating IVDs in Nigeria and no other organization. The law. This one. Policy, standard operating procedure, another guidance document, even form, which is the standard in this case. So in Nigeria, for the MLCN law, which is the Bureau of Nigeria 2019 as amended, now you have the act, and you have technical regulations. So that's why it keeps going down. The same way with the standard kind of you have the policies, you have the processes, you have the procedures, you even have forms communicating. So that policy and quality objectives. Quality objectives will specify the quality policy into small, like there's a timeline, measurable, we call it SMART. So we have a quality policy statement. How does it happen within the organization? You must set up. You can we do. Yeah, to this we do. But most importantly, make it measurable. Make it smart. So quality manual. Quality manual will actually embody of the organization and make reference to the standard operating procedures. So don't have a quality manual that is as big as this room. Have smart quality manual and making reference to the standard operating procedure. So you see the SOP in another management SOP, but the references will appear in the quality manual. Am I communicating? So don't have everything in the quality manual. They have a quality manual, the policy, make a reference to the SOP. the processes, procedures, and records. I've said that. Copies of applicable regulations, standards, and other normative documents you also need in your lab. The speaker also mentioned that, and should be accessible to preserve integrity. Now, document control. I will run through them. You can't have the standard demystified in 30 minutes, but I'll just take some specific examples. Management requirements, I'll go to technical requirements, then we'll not close. Laboratory shall control all documents required by QLS and ensure the unintended use of obsolete documents is prevented. It's a crime to have a document in the lab without document control. So you have the control number. So strategically and intentionally have a control number for all documents. Even the standard documents, if you can't have a control number, have a stamp and sign it that this one is being used in this lab. If it's flying around, assessor don't like seeing that. That will be viewed as a non-conformity. Am I communicating? Have a process for document review and approval for authorized personnel, document numbering system, document retention policy, process for managing documents, issuing new documents, and removal of obsolete documents. When a document is obsolete, remove from the shelf. If you review a document and you want to retire another one, have it in the archive and keep it according to your policy.